Hi, my name is Teresa Kovlak, and today we are going to be painting the scenery of a starry night. So what I am painting on is made by Ranger, and so this is used with alcohol inks. It comes in a 5x7 sheet, and it is a silver sparkly paper. So hopefully you can see the sparkles on there. That's what we're going to be using today. So here's our paper. That's a 5x7. I will leave a list of the inks that I'm using in the description box down below. The other thing that I will be using is the 99% alcohol. Comes in a container like this. You can find it in your pharmacy area or beauty supply store. I put mine in a recyclable bottle so it's a little easier to use. On this painting here, for doing the stars, I used a jelly roller. This is just a gel pen. I did the stars this way, but I think on this one we're going to try it a little bit different using just some white paint. And that's an acrylic paint that I'm using. And on the moon, just to make it a little easier, I used the Posca pen. And so we'll be using that to make our moon on this one. Again, the inks that I'm using, I will have in the description box below. I do keep my alcohol, my 99% alcohol, in the little glass dish. And I keep my black separate in a little glass dish too. I always keep that separate. So basically this is just a really loose painting we're doing. I'm going to dip my brush into the alcohol. Now before we start it, I did prep my inks. I put them into my tray and I just put a little squeeze of alcohol. And what that basically does is it wakes them back up. It allows you to use them again. And these can dry right in the dish. And every time you want to use them, you can just squirt a little bit of the alcohol in it. So let's go ahead and get started here. Remember, this is just a really loose painting. The brush I'm using is made for acrylics, and it's a number 2. And so if you look on your brushes, it'll give you a number right here. And so this one is a number 2. I always try to clean off my brush when I'm going into another ink. And I'm just loosely painting across. And again, when you're going into another color, make sure you have a clean brush. And you'll see me grabbing into some alcohol just to help spread my inks over. When I go into a new color though, I make sure I dab off and clean my brush. So I start with my bright colors at first, because we wanted a night scene. Then I will come in with the darker colors. And you don't have to make it a night scene. You can make it a sunset. I just like to add some stars to the sky tonight, even though it's daytime right now. Make sure I clean off my brush, and it's okay. There's some extra ink in there. It won't hurt anything. I'm going back in, grabbing some more color, going with the darker colors because we are making it evening. And we're just adding some dark colors in. We're not totally wiping out our lighter colors. We still want those brighter colors to be there. I'm cleaning down my brush, going back in, just with some alcohol. Just kind of spreading our sky around. You ever see in the evening, the moon's coming out, the stars are out, but you can still see the sun going down? Well, that's the painting we're doing. And the shimmery paper, it's pretty cool because it brings some of that shimmer through. And then down here at the bottom, I want to make sure I have my whole sky really the way I want it. And then we'll start on the bottom. It's a little harder to backtrack. You always want your background, your sky area. You always want that done first, because it's a lot harder to come back and work on the sky once you're working on your details at the bottom. So we don't want it too dark or too light. And I think I want to move one more spot here. I already put that black on because I was going to do the black, so we'll just wipe that off. No big deal. And the other spot that I was seeing was kind of right here. I just think I want a little more blend there. And if you don't want yours quite so bright, you can do it darker. Or if you want it brighter, you can go brighter. Just want to kind of blend these areas together. And if you get any kind of little fuzzies on there, just try to pull them off with your brush. Just add just a tiny more pink here, and I think we'll go ahead and get started on that bottom. Now it is a little deceiving because on this paper it gives it that shimmery look, and then when it dries it changes a little. So it is a little deceiving. So when you're doing it, you're going to want to make sure that you like the color you have, and it could be even a little brighter than what you want because it is going to dry a little darker. So let's go ahead and add that black in now. And I have that in my little glass jar. And we're just kind of going to do a ground scene here. So bring it all the way through first. And you can see how that color really pops when you put the black on. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If you go a little higher, that's fine. You want to go a little lower, that's fine too. It's just kind of more of a shadow type scene because the sun is going down in the back. Everything in the front would be a darker color. I'm even going to add a little bit more alcohol to this. Just because I kind of like it to grow going up. And if you don't have any of this shimmery paper, you can paint it on Yupo, you can paint it on a tile. So I added the alcohol so that my lines here aren't just so straight. So it looks like something's growing coming up. We don't want them so just straight. And the alcohol works real nice. It just moves it right up. You just don't want to put too much on because you don't want it to get too wild and move too much, but just a little bit. And let's go ahead and put our trees in. And I think I'm going to use my other brush a little bit smaller. So you can go half size under to do your trees, or you can even use a smaller brush. So I'm just going to bring this up. And pick out some spots for my trees. This one can be a little taller. And I'm going to put my moon in right here. So I'll come over here and do some trees. And I'm just waiting for this to dry down a tiny bit. I'll probably have to dry it down a little just to show you. I think I want this to be more of a kind of a hill here. It's kind of like it has a little valley there. And we'll go ahead and put some more trees in. And we're just going to do some pine trees, and we just kind of jig-jog them. If you ever look at pine trees, they're not perfect. The only pine trees I ever see that are nice and round all on the same side as the Christmas trees, and that's because they trim them to make them perfect. They're all different sizes. And if you've never done the pine trees before, you can always practice on a little paper first. Just even a scratch pad. And just kind of fill these in. and you can always add more if you want. I'm going to dry this area down a little bit here. I'd like that moon to go right about here. Clean off my brush first, and I'm going to dry it down. This one I'm just going to use a regular blow dryer. You can use whatever you have. Mine has a hot and cold setting. I have it on the cold, and I'll give it a quick blast of the cold air. And that way, because this is, you don't want to bend or wrinkle your paper. Yupo, you never want to blow it with direct hot heat. If you use the heat gun on it, you want to stay up further. So let's just give this a quick blow. Okay, I know that was really noisy, so that's why I didn't talk during that time. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put in our moon, and I'm going to put the moon in about right here. And you can do it how big or how small you want it. I'm taking this moon and I'm going to make him fairly big. And then we're going to come back and we're going to accent in front of him and make it so it all blends in. So the moon is coming out. And we can even go just a tiny bit bigger. If you don't have any of these pens, you can just use some acrylic paint. And we're going to give that a quick dry now. Okay, sorry about bumping the camera there, didn't mean to do that. So now we are going to go ahead and just accent a little bit in front of that moon. And what we're going to do is bring in some more trees, just some little ones. So I am using a smaller brush. And when I dip into my ink, I do kind of roll my brush on the side, on the edge. Just grab in and give them some little branches. I don't know, let's see, do we really want one? I guess we'll go with one more little guy right here. And maybe a little guy right here. Put a little more ink on my brush. So there we go. We got the moon setting behind. Now we need to add our stars. Now I have tried a couple of things. So on this first painting here, to do the stars, I ended up using the gel pen, and I ended up having to do each star individually. I'd like to just flick them on. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a paper towel and we're gonna set it just over the bottom part here because we want to keep our stars up on top. And we're going to take some acrylic paint. So I just take it and I put it in a little jar, and I have it watered down a little bit, but not a lot. So it's not totally dripping off my brush, but it's still good and wet, so I can flick it. And what I mean by flicking it is you can take a piece of paper and practice a couple times. Use a flat brush, something good in a stiff brush, and just kind of give it some little speckles. So I'm kind of leaning it and give it a little speckle. So we're going to go ahead and load back up our brush, and not too much, because it's better to go in and add more than trying to pull them out. So we're just going to give it a little speckle. And because of the paper being that silver shimmery paper, it wanted to suck the other. I had tried it with using white. I actually used the jacquard white, and it just wanted to suck it all in, so that didn't work. So you just need to try different things and experiment and figure out what works. So I like these little stars, and this is just acrylic paint that I'm using. And like I said, if you don't have a Posca pen to do the moon, you can just take and do it with the acrylics. And if you want your sky to be a little darker, you can do that. And this little star here came out awfully big, so I'm just going to give him just a little wipe. I like the stars, but I don't want it to overpower my painting. The other thing you can do is just take a really fine tip and dip into your acrylic paints and just touch on your painting where you maybe want some stars but didn't get them in. And you can even take and do like a fancy star, like a northern star. However you want to do it, it's your painting. And if you want your sky darker, you can do that too. I just like adding a few little accents. Sometimes I'll just go in on top of the stars that splattered on and just add a few more, and or maybe make it a little bit bigger. It's up to you. You can even look up the galaxy and paint in different symbols. You could do Orion's belt. It'd be kind of cool. So I hope you liked this painting and maybe learned a new technique. And maybe this will help you on your next project. You can see more of my paintings and my artwork on Facebook and Instagram. Both are under my name, Teresa Kovlak. So I kind of like that. Maybe I'll add a few more stars over here. Like I said, it's up to you. It's your painting. Make it darker, lighter. Maybe you don't want to do the moon. Maybe you just want to have a sunset going down. And that's fine too. So I like it. I hope you do too. We'll take a closer look real quick. And again, my name is Teresa Kovlak. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and happy painting.